The big box retailers, the Publix and the Whole Foods and the Costco's, had been just bought out on like weekend shopping sprees because people panic bought and had no product left. And I'm hearing from friends like, hey, do you have any product? Because there's nothing at the supermarkets. Like, man, yeah, I do. We have 30,000 square feet of product that's just sitting because the restaurants aren't open.
Lucie, the name means light. The majority of our team has worked in newsrooms throughout the country. We've seen the negatives. At Lucie, we explore the positives. And through this video series, we spotlight them. People, places, businesses, nonprofits, you name it. Storytelling is at the heart of our company, and we know sharing a story makes connections. It's simple, informative, and empowering. So without further ado, let's go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to our Lucie Spotlight series. This one is going to be awesome because our guests, we go way back. Connor Boney and I went to SMU. We've done business together. Connor has a very interesting background where I remember when he was at SMU, he was actually studying to become an orthopedic surgeon. Totally pivoted from that. Connor, you're now in the butcher shop business. Congratulations on all your success. Before we jump into the Buckhead Butcher Shop, let's go to your early beginnings and kind of walk us through where you started.
Yeah, no problem. So my path has been as windy as it can possibly be. I was at college at SMU with you, right? And in college, I thought I wanted to go into medical school.
I remember
And
that.
I thought sports orthopedics would be so cool. And got into med school, was at MCG in Augusta for almost 3 years, just about, and ended up leaving med school to go follow a passion my uncle had for wholesale distribution. He had a seafood company in Maryland. So right off the onset, like the path is just crooked, but purposeful. So, through medical school, I had kind of a big faith uprising and just really found a desire to love and care for people outside of medicine through ministry stuff, and wanted to pursue after that sort of a vocation that fulfilled a passion of mine, which just happened to be outdoor, kind of not at a desk, just living with people. And when I went to visit my uncle's business, that's what it was. It was fish all over the place. It was just very much a people-friendly environment. Fell in love with it and moved to Maryland. Learned everything I could about the business. And then about 5 years in, ended up coming back to Atlanta, where home is, to help start a wholesale distribution company here that was meat and seafood. So partnered up with a few guys. My main focus was building the seafood for the company. And then over the years, ended up running it with one of the original founders. And we just sold that business about a year ago. We were open there for almost 7. But the butcher shop business came out of COVID. And I think you were around then. I don't know if you were there for the truck sales.
Yeah.
But when COVID was what, 2020?
Yeah, March 2020.
Yeah, so 2020 happened, right? And we, in the wholesale business at that point, were seeing something come, right? And all of a sudden, all the restaurants in Atlanta shut down. All the restaurants across the country shut down. And when that happened, that was our supply base, our customer base. We stopped. We had a warehouse full of product, and the big box retailers, the Publix and the Whole Foods and the Costco's, had been just bought out on like weekend shopping sprees because people panic bought and had no product left. And I'm hearing from friends like, hey, do you have any product? Because there's nothing at the supermarkets. Like, man, yeah, I do. We have 30,000 square feet of product that's just sitting because the restaurants aren't open. And so we brought a truck into the neighborhood in Buckhead and started selling out of my driveway. And literally within, and you were there, 1 week to 2 weeks, the line was 500 yards long. People are spread out 6 feet. And it's the first time people are being able to get outside and kind of socialize. At the same time that need arose, the restaurant started to open back up. So it was go time on kind of figuring out, all right, we want to do a butcher shop. It makes sense. We got to do it quick because wholesale is about to take my attention. We're going to go do that. So we opened up a wholesale or a butcher shop in Buckhead on Far Road, probably late to mid 2020. Just retail products, tried to make it different and sleek and modern and minimal, bringing in industry experts to be the face behind the whole thing, and it took off. So that was 2 years we were open on the first location. Then we had about a 2-year build out of this new location that crossed over a little bit of time. So we're about 3.5 years old now and in the new site, having a good time.
What have you learned about opening this new site? Like what kind of caught you off guard? Because I remember talking to you, you had no idea like how big your events business was going to become, like as soon as you open that up, right?
Yeah, so bringing it all the way back, obviously we opened this second location up during COVID. So I picked the wrong time to do it, problem number one. But what I learned through that process is it's so important to have the right people that you're partnered up with. Getting the right people to help you is huge. And we did that. We had a great project management company, Bridger Properties, the local company here, great interior design group with Smith Haynes, stellar work. And then we had an architect group with MT Studios, Tarver, and them working together made it as good as it possibly could have been with all the delays and all the problems we faced there, right? So that's kind of the first part. The second, once you opened, that's when decision time came for me of figuring out what did I want to do with my life. I wasn't ready for that. We were a little retail butcher shop in Buckhead with a lot of volume and a good following where we were before. And that was easy. I was managing that from afar while co-running the wholesale business. But when the new place opened, we had the private dining, we had the bar, we had the kitchen, we had a little bit more added to retail. And the weekend it opened, I was not expecting the cooking experience, the private dining to take off like it did. And immediately you're faced with a decision as a business owner. Okay, what are you gonna do? You can hire people to come in and now run that portion of the business, or maybe it gives you an opportunity as the owner to kind of step in yourself and step away from the other business that I had and just immerse myself in this butcher shop concept, this experience thing, which I really loved. I loved that side of the business. Timing was right. I had just sold, we had just sold Revere about 6 months prior to this new butcher shop opening. And so I was with, at that point, the company we'd sold it to, working with them, thought I wanted to be there for a long time and have this retail kind of concept going. When Buckhead grew legs and the butcher shop experience became more than just retail, I saw it as an opportunity to sort of jump in, kept building and building, and now we have hired the people to come in and do that, and it's been a great experience.
You have some major companies out there, butcher type companies like the Omaha Steaks of the world. Who is your competition, and are any of them doing this more of a butcher shop / experience?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I haven't really thought about who our competition is a lot. You mentioned ButcherBox, right? So like an e-commerce platform for selling product. We have an e-commerce avenue. We were going to go push into that space and compete and try, but immediately saw that it was going to take a gigantic amount of capital to go in and fight that fight. And we didn't want to do that. We backed up because we just opened this new place. There's a lot that we need to focus on at home. And so we pulled that off, and that e-commerce just grows organically. Our focus is on hitting on our mission. Our mission is quality of life. We're not about selling products, we're not about transactions, we're about increasing the quality of life of the consumer that comes into our store. So I fully believe, and COVID showed us this, that we were given an opportunity in COVID to kind of slow down the pace of life and actually spend time with family, dinners with family. Everybody that I've talked to, not one person has said that they didn't like that part about COVID. It was something that they had missed. It's something that most of us grew up with that we don't have now. And I found through COVID and through the beginning of the butcher shop life that we can extend that opportunity by getting the consumers to be better skilled at the culinary act of cooking at home, raise their confidence in that. And so we look at it as a mechanism of, let's get people in the door, take an impact on their life by making them stronger, skilled cooks. They're gonna do it more, and through that, they're gonna enjoy their life more with fellowship, family, and friends. And it's simple. Now that we're doing the true private dining, where you can have your own experience, cultivate a custom menu with a James Beard nominated chef and Chef Leonard, play your own music, have the TVs going, it's your place. People are loving it.
You mentioned Chef Leonard. I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Chef Leonard. He's amazing, and it is awesome to see all these people learning from someone like him. Explain how you really built up your team and being able to attract someone like Chef Leonard, because he was with one of the top steakhouses in town here in Atlanta, and you were able to recruit him. So tell me kind of like the keys for you in building your business and finding the right team.
Yeah, so first of all, because people might watch this locally, I didn't recruit him, so I don't want to get in trouble. But, all right, so from the wholesale company that we had, you're dealing with top-end chefs, country clubs, restaurants, hotels, grocery stores in the Southeast. That was who we sold to. And through COVID, and not just COVID, I think COVID exacerbated the quality of life that those people live, those chefs, those kitchen staff, like that industry is brutal. Leonard and I are friends. He had talked about how he's done this for so long, and I simply just gave him an opportunity, having had this conversation with him. Hey, look, what if I gave you this job? It's essentially a 9-to-5 type of cooking job, but you're gonna connect directly with the customers that you truly care about, and you do this whole thing for. He was all over it. Prior to Leonard, though, again, it was easy to go into these kitchens and into the restaurant environment and talk to people that like food. They don't like their business, they don't like the job, they don't like the lifestyle. And bringing in those experts to be my face for retail was so important, because I wanted their knowledge, and more than their knowledge, their passion to translate into the customer interaction. In any business, I think, the moment you walk in somewhere and you're made to feel like you don't know anything about what you're about to look at, you've created an intimidating atmosphere, and the person's now only worried about making a transaction and leaving. Especially in butcher shops. Everybody's got the experience where you walk into the butcher shop and it's the big burly guy behind the counter with his green egg, and if you don't know as much as he knows, you're gonna know that immediately, and you're not even gonna wanna ask a question. It made us all the more confident in the direction we were heading, which was to get away from a transaction and create an experience where people are comfortable being vulnerable in that atmosphere in any place in life. Now you're primed to learn.
Your staff does do a wonderful job. I mean, I've been in there a few times, like gotten the steaks, of course, then I ventured into the salmon. They told me exactly what to do, so kudos to you for building a great team. They're super knowledgeable. I want to go back to your early days in Maryland at J.J. McDonnell. You were the Director of Marketing and Business Development. Explain how important it is for marketing in your company and companies in general, what you've learned, what you think works when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, so at JJ, I did a little bit of everything. And I laugh with my uncle now, it was kind of like servitude. But to your question, I ended up running the marketing and running the purchasing department of the business. And marketing was really important. And JJ McDonnell, my uncle, I think, has done a fantastic job of separating his business in a very competitive marketplace by being an expert in the industry when it comes to giving back to the community, giving back to the fisheries, truly caring about the actual product and going in and spending money on cultivating a sustainable practice of fishing. Locally, domestically, internationally, they care. And in an industry that's got a really bad name for kind of tricks and games on names and species and stuff, it's important to build a level of trust. And their marketing focuses on doing that, building trust with the chefs so that the chefs can build trust with the consumer. And that comes from education and awareness. And so their marketing is very key and focused on doing those things. What's different from a wholesale company that's B2B mostly, and my retail business, which is B2C, Instagram and social media really starts to become a bigger player. With wholesale stuff, chances are that chef's not looking at Instagram, he's busy, and he's certainly not looking at it and making a decision based on something he saw. He's already got that information. Wildly different in a B2C atmosphere is how important and how much it can build momentum with a simple post, it actually does create decisions from the consumers, which is very important then to use it as much as you can and as effectively as you can, because the more you do it and do it well, maybe not just volume, but actual efficacy of it, then you're going to drive revenue through that process. So marketing's gigantic, and you know this way more than I do, but over the past 5 years, certainly, and longer than that, but all the more recently, marketing has become a very effective and relatively inexpensive tool for small businesses to use to really increase their traction from a consumer base. And if people aren't doing it, they're really missing the boat.
We always say video is the new language. It's really, video is the language. It's not that it's new, it's just with the iPhones, it's so readily available. And it's just whether you want to take it from here to here to here, you can do all sorts of cool things.
Yeah.
But you are doing a great job. I've been watching.
Well, thank you.
I could sit here all day and talk with you about business, but there's maybe 2 more questions I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Because running a business, it's, as we know, if everybody could do it, they would do it. It's not easy. Take us through some highs and lows, but maybe start with the lows so we can work up to the highs.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot about businesses, owning a business, working in a group atmosphere, but micromanaging was one of the biggest things I've learned through failure of what not to do, and the quickest way to kill a culture, and the quickest way to stress yourselves out and take away from an employee base that wants to do by you doing too much. So that was one of the big things I learned. The second thing I learned, although I started and began to delegate and the micromanaging started to fall away, I was still putting way more into my work than I was into myself and my family. And that reared its head about a year into COVID, maybe 2021, when I actually got really, really sick and my body just shut down. I slept for almost 3 months, literally probably 85% of 3 months, didn't go to work, was going to see a lot of doctors, went to Mayo clinics, went to local hospitals. Nobody could figure out what was going on. But I went to this last ditch effort sort of place. I went to this place in Palm Beach called Hippocrates Health Institute. It's a raw vegan diet place, very much a mind, body, soul connection. And I went there for a month, completely changed my diet and got really connected with the passions that I enjoyed prior to work, got right back into grounding myself and taking care of my soul and what I really believe I should be doing and want to be doing, and was away from work for that full month, not talking, not answering emails, and it rejuvenated my entire life. As an entrepreneur, it's very easy to convince yourself that what you're doing and all that you're sacrificing is okay, and it's for the betterment of this business you're building, which is true in part. But if you keep doing that for so long and you're not feeding your body and you're not feeding your soul, you're going to shut off. And this, I wasn't going to hold back until, ultimately I believe God showed me, I'm gonna hold you back. I got sick and couldn't do it, and then just had to come recreate a new life of truly adapting work-life balance. That's been a big push of mine over the past few years, is to really focus now on not just building the business. At the same time you're focused on building a business, you have to focus on building a culture. Because if you just focus on the business, you have no culture, then you're not gonna be able to leave, and you're not gonna be able to pull away. If you can focus on both of those as you go, and at some point you wake up and you've got a great business and a really good culture, the culture can carry the business, and you can start to kind of pull back and be, with my family.
So that low point really took you to your highs, because it sounds like you've really established a great culture within your company, and you are able to go to your farm and spend more time with your family.
Sure, and very thankful for that, right? So and you're one step away always from immediately being right back in the gauntlet, especially as a business owner. But I do feel like we're at a point, my family and I, with this business of a high, right? And the high isn't because, and it's never just because the business is going great. It's because I've got a balance in my life. And so I look at work as a tool to give me a platform to be able to be with my family and a platform to do more than just the business. So we're not just working to work, we're working for that opportunity, and you have to enjoy the end of what the job is a means to. If you're not, it's just too much.
All right, final question. A lot of folks who are watching this can take inspiration from you. I've personally learned a lot sitting down with you. Any advice to those who are looking to start a company or growing within the job that they currently have?
Yeah, so, and that's a whole nother topic, right? We could spend a lot of time on it. But, all right, if you're interested in starting a company, right, obviously you want to align something that you're passionate about. If you can do that, you're not really working. It's a passion project. And in that environment, you've got a much better opportunity for success than dumping money into a business that you really don't enjoy, but might have good opportunity from a financial standpoint. I don't think that's it. One of the things to be very weary about is making sure that whoever you're in business with, if you're by yourself, which I appreciate a lot now, or you're with partners, you've got to make sure that everybody's aligned. All sounds good when we're sitting down cultivating an idea. All may sound good for the first year, but when visions start to diverge and people start to think differently, you've got to hit that on the head.
Well, we're in the storytelling business, so we could sit here with you sitting in that chair and listen to your story all day long. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It was very enlightening. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I learned a lot. I hope that everybody at home learns a lot. Connor, it's good to see you as always.
See you, man.
Appreciate you being on our Spotlight series.
You got it.
Our mission is simple: create your news. When we create it, we hope to spotlight your purpose. Life's too short to be stuck in a world that becomes stale. What is your purpose? Are you living it? If you're not, the time is now. Thanks for listening and watching. Carpe diem.